we were kind of throwing some things around. Well, then Dan Orlovsky, good buddy of ours, started to make his climb on the ESPN world, and he was blaming offensive linemen for every sack, every single sack was the offensive lineman's fault. And I was like, I called Pat one day. I was like, you know what? I'm getting sick of Orlovsky blaming every single sack on the O line.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Wisdom Wednesday with special guest AQ Shipley. If you're a fan of the Pat McAfee Show, you see him on there. I've known AQ for a long time. We had a former D lineman on Monday with Mike Golick Sr. Now we got a former offensive lineman today with AQ Shipley, who still follows the game very closely. Had a year as a coach, is able to train guys. Going to be an awesome conversation with AQ. Remember, RRSS. Rate and review, subscribe, and share. It makes a huge difference for us when you do those things. In particular, following us on social media at Ross Tucker Pod or at Ross Tucker NFL is my personal. If you are so inclined, that is always awesome. Love getting a chance to talk with guys like AQ Shipley, just the knowledge. And then how about this? Tomorrow we'll have Greg Cosell as we continue the divisional preview series talking about the AFC South. So we are rolling here on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Man, I've had this guy on my list to get on the show for a long time. He doesn't even really know this, but I've been a fan of his since he and Richie Ornberger were rolling people off the ball for Penn State back like 20 years ago at this point. I was in the league, but, I always have that Penn State thing being a Pennsylvania kid. And so it was awesome to watch AQ Shipley and then to meet him at the Rookie Symposium. And then for him to go on and have the career he had, just absolutely incredible. He's doing all kinds of stuff now, including in the media with Pat McAfee. I love that AQ does. It's AQ Shipley, by the way. I said it earlier, but it's AQ Shipley. You fly in, AQ, once a week to do the lineman stuff, right?
I do. Yeah, it's really cool, man. Like Pat called me a couple years ago, and it was right when I retired. And we were kind of throwing some things around. Well, then Dan Orlovsky, good buddy of ours, started to make his climb on the ESPN world. And he was blaming offensive linemen for every sack. Every single sack was the offensive lineman's fault. And I was like, I called Pat one day. I was like, you know what? I'm getting sick of Orlovsky blaming every single sack on the O-line. This protection right here, I pull up a clip. I'm like, this protection right here, running back has Mike to Sam. He free releases, misses the mic. That's the running back's fault, not the O-line. He's like, you want to come on the show and talk about that? I said, absolutely. And that's kind of how the whole thing kind of came about.
I love that. There's a shortage, as you know, of media guys like their O-line that actually know what they're talking about. It's funny. I'm not going to name names, but there are some high-profile color analysts that every once in a while they'll talk O-line play, and I'll get text messages from people like, dude, can you please tell him that that's not right? Or like, what is he talking about? But in fairness, I don't know everything about routes and coverages either. You know what I mean? But then I don't try to speak on it if I don't know.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's the biggest thing. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. Like, I don't know everything about routes. I don't know everything about coverages. I know enough about it, right? Like, I know enough about it where I can speak generically, but my expertise is line play, and some of these receivers' expertise is skill positions. Stay in that lane. Like, don't sit here and try and talk about what they should be doing versus a double barrel blitz, which I know exactly what you're talking about because I spend my entire Sunday and Mondays usually texting about that stuff as well.
It's funny. A couple years ago for CBS, it was me and Jason McCourty, and it was perfect because like any receiver DB thing he just took, anything in the front seven I took. It was like, this is the way it should be. And he and I talk about that all the time. So question number one, how many years do you tell people you played? Because this is a pet peeve of mine when I look at like Pro Football Reference or I look at Spotrac, your contracts, and it starts like in 2006 or 2008 or something. And when you're 26 years old, and I remember, and I know you were with the Steelers and with the Eagles. I'm guessing that was what, practice squad? Do you include those years or do you not? Because I sure as hell would include them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I include the heck out of them. I mean, I say 12 years. I mean, listen, I came in 09, I retired in 20. That's 12 years. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing, whether you're practice squad or not, you're doing everything. It's no different than being the seventh lineman on the team and not playing a snap that entire year either, right?
Yeah.
You're still doing everything. You're just not playing, but you're one snap away, just like everybody else. And you're putting the time in. And for me, that was the biggest thing early on in my career. I knew I was going to face some shortcomings from the people upstairs. I mean, there were so many people that wanted to question my height or my arm length because obviously it's recorded once you go to the combine, just like Will Campbell, and he'll overcome that and become an absolute dominant player in the NFL for a long time. But when you have to deal with that and you have to overcome those things, you just need an opportunity. And for me, I got that opportunity in 2012, and a guy by the name of Bruce Arians kind of fell in love with what I was able to bring to the table, and ended up playing for him for a long time.
I knew I had short arms, and this is one of the major things I want to talk to you about. AQ, I got to be honest with you, I didn't know how bad it was. So a couple times recently, I've been up at Penn State for like a concert or whatever, and I know those guys in the football department. My arms are 30.75, and I was 6'4" and 5/8. So 6'4" and 5/8, I played all 5 spots, but I have sub 31-inch arms. And I was looking, I think the last 5 years at the combine, there's like one guy that I could find under 32 inches, and that's Linderbaum, who's like a 6'1" center for the Ravens. Really good player. You were sub 30-inch arms, which is incredible. I don't know if you've ever done the research for people sub 30 inches. So I no longer, AQ, tell people that I was a 7-year journeyman O-lineman. I now tell them I'm one of the 5 greatest sub 31-inch arm offensive linemen that's ever lived. That's my claim to fame. Are you in the short arm Hall of Fame with me?
I think, I mean, if I might be the only one under 30 inches, I think at the end of the day, right? Like when that number came out, I was like, oh no, like this is gonna set me back some time. And all I was trying to do was stretch that thing to get to 30. I just needed to get to 30, and then it didn't get there. I was like, oh man, it's gonna hurt. But again, at the end of the day, listen, I went out and played in the Rose Bowl against Ray Maluga, Brian Cushing, and Clay Matthews, right? Like 3 of the best linebackers that have come through USC and in the NFL. I played against James Laurinaitis. I played against, Alan Branch, who was a borderline first-round defensive tackle. I played against all these guys and had no issue with my arm length. I was able to get my hands on them. I was able to control them. I was able to get my hands inside, and I understood that hand leverage and leverage being underneath guys was the biggest key to my success. And become a technician, become the smartest guy in the room, and do all of these other things. Okay, if you don't have length, okay, how do we combat that with being great at all of the other intangibles? And that's the approach that I took.
So it's interesting. I have mixed emotions on this. And since you coached for a year or 2, I don't even know how long, I want to get that with you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, so on the one hand, especially at center, I don't think it affected me at all. And I actually thought I did better at tackle than I would have thought with the arm length. I will say, like, I remember distinctly, like, playing guard against a 3-4 team and having to kick out to the 4-eye, and Richard Seymour or whoever giving me the one-arm long arm and being like, holy crap. But I talked to Joe Thomas about it one time, AQ, and he's like, dude, even if you had 35-inch arms, if Seymour gives you a one-arm long arm, it doesn't matter anyway. You got to replace anyway. So I'm assuming you think it's overblown. I will say there are offensive line coaches that are really good that really do think it matters, and they're going to try to get guys with length because they think it's like boxing. Like they think that matters. Your thoughts?
I'll say this, Ross, and I'm the biggest advocate of, again, I do think it's the most overblown thing when it comes to linemen. I think when you think of length. How many times are you actually playing with full length? Think about it, right? Like you throw your hands, they collapse you, you got to replace, and now you're playing with 14-inch arms because you're bent like this, trying to come up underneath, right? So can it help in the initial? For sure, probably. But again, like I played Linval Joseph, who had 40-inch arms, and played well against him because I got him moving. I understood how to kind of sell outside zone when it was inside zone, get him moving and torque him out and do different things. Like you just have to play smarter. Again, just like you just said, you get a long arm's a long arm, regardless of how long they are. Like if I stretch one arm this way, I got 40-inch arms now all of a sudden, right? Like it is what it is, and you're never going to be in that position as an offensive lineman. So you got to figure out how to combat that. But I guess I get it from a standpoint of offensive line coaches wanting that. And if you can have a guy with length that also is physical, that also is smart, that also is athletic, that also can bend, that's obviously the prototypical, right? But like very few and far between do you get that 6'6" guy that now can bend like Tristan Wirfs, that now has 37-inch arms like Linval Joseph, right? Like it's tough to get all of that. So like the end of the day, like the biggest thing I want is a football player. I want to turn on the film. I want to see a physical guy. I want to see a nasty guy. I want to see a guy that plays through the whistle, not to the whistle. I want to see a guy that's not making mental errors. I want to see a guy that gets on his guy and on the backside doesn't take plays off. I want to see all of these things. So having length is great, but if you don't have all the other stuff, it's not going to help you.
You know, I think sometimes the two interesting things about that. I think it does help for sure, you know, reach or whatever. I think though, when they miss with their hands, if they're so long, it actually takes them longer to reset or get back underneath. Whereas, you know, for us, it's like, I'll also say this, AQ, like, I just jumped the crap out of people. Like if I was a guard, first of all, I never understood, why are you taking a set with anything backwards when that guy is 335 pounds and you know he's going to bull you? It never made sense to me to go backward. I just jumped everybody. They say, oh, it's not good for stunts. Why? If you stop a guy right in the line, so he's going to loop around with no momentum, I think guys should jump even more than they do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I think center, you have to play with depth, right? I think guard, if you can get on guys and play inside out, that's a huge, huge deal, right? I think most guys, when they jump, overset, though. Let's be very clear about that. I think most guys, when they jump, they think, okay, let's go down the middle, let's go outside. Well, now you become even, and now you give the guy a three-way go, if that makes sense, right? They got inside, they got down the middle, and they got outside. But very few people can set back with depth and stay in and I'm sorry, do the same inside-out move when they set back with depth as they can when they jump, because they always teach it, okay, go run block the guy, go run inside zone. Well, okay, if you go jump on a guy and now he takes a half a step inside, now you're even, right? And so I think that's the biggest issue with guys that jump set. More often than not, they give up the inside, they're pressing the inside and all these different things. But I 1000% agree with you. If you can jump a guy, I mean, I watched Justin Pugh, who came off the couch in his last year, was undersized as can be, and just jumped everybody and played with length and shot everybody down that he went against for the most part.
So I remember talking with you on the field. It was before it might have been Bucks Rams playoff game, but we were talking. I was asking you how coaching goes. Well, I guess if you played through 20, it would have been 21 or 22.
It was 21. Yep.
Okay. And was that the only year you coached?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I know you were telling me, I don't want to, you know, give away everything, but, you know, that was tough to go right from playing to coaching and the hours that are involved. And you never really, most guys at least have a year or two where they see what life as a civilian is like. And you never really got that. So for my listeners and the people watching as well, what was coaching like and why did you get out of it after a year?
I loved being around the guys. I love the atmosphere. I love coaching guys. I liked that year. Arguably was Ryan Jensen's best year. I spent the whole year working with him, and all I did was challenge him. That's all I did. He was already a damn good football player. He was already a Pro Bowl type player, physical, nasty. I love everything about the way Ryan Jensen plays. But I was like, listen, like we can hone in on some technique by just working a little bit more on individual, you know, every single day. Like And even on the jersey he signed for me in my wall, it's like, thanks for pushing me to make me better, right? Like that was the one thing that I enjoyed is you're not trying to change a guy who's in year 8 or 9 that's already a Pro Bowl player, but if you can just make him a little more efficient in one thing, challenge him a little bit this way, just kind of keep his fire stoked a little bit, like that's what I enjoy, and that's what I still enjoy. I worked with 13 NFL offensive linemen this past offseason for 6 weeks before they started their offseason programs. But from a coaching standpoint, I think, and this maybe get some controversy when I say this, because the old school coaches will probably try and dispute this, but I think when the Bill Belichick's, when the Andy Reid's, when the Pete Carroll's, when that era of coach started, right? When John Gruden, right? Like when all those guys all started, they were working with cut-ups, and what cut-ups were was they were taking the old school tape and literally cutting them up. So it took hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to put these things together. Well, now there's a bunch of programs, there's AI, there's all these different things that you can use. And PFF actually does a great job with what they allow to the teams where you can filter all these things. So before, where you used to have to go through an 8-game breakdown and watch all 8 games and find every over defense with more than 5 rushing, now you can filter that out in 2 seconds, pull them out, and now you already have your cut up. It takes 1/50th the amount of time as it used to. And so I think it does not need to be a 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. or later job anymore. I really don't. And I think if it ever broke that mold, I think you'd see a lot more former players getting into it, because I think as a player, you hate wasted time. You hate when you're sitting in the locker room for 2 hours waiting for a meeting or waiting for a walkthrough or waiting for all these things. Well, then I finish my cut up at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday, but I got to stay till 11 because the offensive coordinator's staying there, and I can't be the first one to go or the second one to go or the third one because I'm trying to climb the ladder. And so you miss out on dinner time with the kids. You miss out on all these things. And at the end of the day, you're getting ready to play Dennis Allen, but you're watching a film from 11 years ago when he was with the Raiders, trying to find any crazy blitz that might come up and prepare for this, where at the end of the day, after the first 6, 7, 8 plays of a game, you know what they're doing, you know what their tendencies are, and then it becomes a chess match in game of how you can make adjustments.
Man, it's funny. I can remember a teammate of mine, Sam Gash, he was coaching. I'm like, man, you're coaching with the hours? And he's like, we got to try to change it from the inside. And it still hasn't gotten there yet. But
no.
It's funny. I wouldn't like the hours, but I was just kind of tired of getting fired. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I don't feel like getting fired anymore or traded or whatever. So I'm not doing that. I didn't realize, AQ, you were doing the individual coaching. One of my questions was, in addition to the McAfee stuff, what are you doing now? I didn't know you're like an O-line guru trainer. That's incredible.
I'm trying to get there. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've had a lot of fun with it. And going back to that year coaching, in the year that we spoke on that field, I think right before we lost to the Rams in their route to the Super Bowl, probably about November of that year, I knew I was not going to continue to coach. And so guy by the name of Robert Hainsey, who's now the starting center for the Jaguars, signed a big deal with them this offseason, was a third-round pick to us that year, was a right tackle only in college. And when we drafted him, we were going to move him inside. And so Harold Goodwin, the offensive line coach, was like, hey, who better than to teach him center and get him to understand how to play inside than you, right? So you take him during individual, you take Jensen during individual, and you guys can, just work only center stuff during individual, and you can kind of groom him along. I said, okay, perfect. So we started doing that, and I kind of put out a thing to all the rookie O-linemen that year. I was like, listen, my office is always open. I'm not going to come chase you, because I was never a guy that needed chased. I was the guy that always went and found help when I needed help, right? So I was like, I'm not going to come chase you. Any of you rookie offensive linemen that want to come get some extra stuff, maybe watch your practice squad reps versus, Vita Vea and the boys on the other side, I will gladly go through it, because we're not going to go through it we don't have time to go through it with the starters, right? And so there was 4 rookie offensive linemen. One guy came up every single day. It was Robert Hainsey, right? And he came up every day. He was like, hey, let's do this. Hey, how do I do this? Show me how you approach this? How did you handle this move versus Vita? All these different things. And so I loved the kid because of his work ethic, because his want to, his care, his constant wanting to get better. And so right around November, he comes up to my office and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to figure out my off-season plans. I just want to pick your brain on kind of how you approach your off-season, what you did." And I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. You do whatever you see fit. If you want to go to any of these places that all these guys go to, or you got a comfortable guy that you train with, cool. But I'm just telling you, keep this between us. I'm not coming back. I'm going back to Arizona. If you want to come out to Arizona, rent a place, I will gladly train you the entire offseason, and we'll see. And if you like it, you can stay with me and we'll go from there." So I started with one, started with Robert. He came out that offseason, spent the whole thing. Next year, he's starting at center for the Buccaneers. Obviously, Ryan Jensen got injured that year, but boom, he gets his opportunity to start, starts every game, comes back the next year, starts every game, signs a $21 million deal this offseason. That's kind of like my first guy to kind of see through and get a deal, right? And then started with him. I ended up linking up with some agents, and agents started sending me some guys out of college. I got to work with Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, first-round pick, Green Bay Packers. Worked this past offseason with a couple guys, Charles Grant, William and Mary, third-round pick to the Raiders. Spent all offseason with him. And then Vidarian Lowe of the Patriots I spent some time with. Then this offseason, John Michael Schmitz came out from the Giants. I got to spend some time with Brian O'Neill, Runyon, Remmers from the Vikings, Wanya Morris from the Chiefs. So it's starting to grow and grow and grow. So I'm enjoying it. I do the media thing during the season, then the off season. I get some time to work with these guys before they go back to their team. And then I get some family time for 8 to 10 weeks while they're with their teams. And then I get them again for 4 weeks. And then basically then the season starts back up.
Dude, that's perfect.
It's awesome. Awesome.
That is like ideal. And that's like, I mean, I know the games are probably the most fun thing, but you know, I always AQ, like I would love to like be like a high school or like D3 O-line coach. You know what I mean? Like just have I don't need all the other stuff. Like just want to have my guys and try to make them as good as I can make them. That's all. And for the media stuff with McAfee, it keeps you in touch with like the latest schemes and everything.
Absolutely. That's my favorite thing. And then for like at the end of the day, I was Bruce Arians' system 9 of my 12 years. So like I never really had I got a little taste of it with Cliff Kingsbury in 19. That was really like my only taste of the new world, right? And so that was the initial kind of introduction to that. But now getting to turn on the film and study Shanahan and McVay and LaFleur and O'Connell and all these gurus. And it's so cool for me to watch the way McVay builds a game. I'll hop on a call with Colt McCoy on a Monday and be like, "Bro, did you see this sequence? Look at this. Same formation, same motion, first quarter, 8 minutes. Boom, runs this play. And then same formation, same motion, start of the second quarter, build something off of it. Then third one, now it's a slant. Fourth one, now it's a wheel. Fifth one, now it's a play action deep shot." And it all looks the same. And it's like, this is really cool to watch some of this new age stuff that's going in.
That is awesome. Dude, I love the setup you got. I didn't know you were doing that in addition to the McAfee stuff. That is absolutely perfect. Great to see you. How much you weighing right now? You look good.
I got down to 250. I got lazy this year. I'm back up to like 275, 280 right now.
Oh, really? I wouldn't know that.
McAfee likes it because he thought that whenever I got down to 245, he's like, "You're doing the O-line an injustice right now. You're making all this skinniness. How can people trust what you're saying?" I put a little weight on, and now whenever I talk about O-line, at least the people trust it a little more.
I love it. Check him out on social media at AQ Shipley. 12 years in the NFL, All-American at Penn State, and just incredible the way he battled for whatever it was, 3 or 4 years on practice squads to then pop out the other side and start as many games as he did. 3 years in a row, I think he started every game at center for the Cardinals. Just incredibly proud of you, dude, because I knew you when you were, just coming out. So it was cool. I remember you were pumped. You were on the Steelers practice squad. And now to see what you ended up doing, man, is awesome. So proud of you. Check him out on social at AQ Shipley. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Appreciate you, Ross. I mean, I remember that conversation. I came back. I was practice squad, and we had a conversation on Beaver Stadium Field up at Penn State. I think I was on a practice squad in Pittsburgh, and then I've been following you along. I love what you're doing, crushing it, and then having that conversation. when I was coaching in Tampa. It kind of came full circle. You know,
Yeah.
it was really cool, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Time to finish this episode strong right after this. I love Labatt. I love all of you. I love what feels like free merch. We're combining all of that. We're combining all of that at once. Buy beer, get gear. At a minimum, please go to rewards.labattusa.com to see their insane merch because it's incredible. I told you a million times, I already got the mini fridge and I just recently got the cooler backpack, which is awesome. Rewards.labattusa.com. Man, I love stories like that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate self-made guys like AQ Shipley that did it and do it the hard way. I mean, he changed his family's life. The first 3 or 4 years, all practice squad. He stuck with it. He got better. He got a coach to believe in him. And now he's got an amazing life to show for it. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. It is by far the best way to tell someone how you feel about them. Can't highly recommend it enough. Myfrontpagestory.com. BackOfficeScheduler.com, HumanHeadNYC.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.